Okay. Now our second joint meeting. I'd like to call to order the joint public meeting of the Glendale City Council and the Glendale Redevelopment Agency for November 2nd, 2010. May we have roll call for the council, please?
Council members: Draymond.
Here.
Friedman.
Here.
Otero.
Here.
Weaver.
Here.
Aaron Najarian.
Here.
One for the agency.
Yes, can I have roll call for the agency?
Agency members: Draymond.
Here.
Najarian.
Here.
Otero.
Here.
Weaver.
Here.
Chair Friedman.
Here.
May we have your report?
The agenda for the November 2nd, 2010 joint public meeting of the Glendale City Council and the Glendale Redevelopment Agency was posted on Thursday, October 28, 2010 on the bulletin board outside City Hall. The item before you today is Director of Community Services and Parks presenting regarding Griffith Manor Park redesign proposal to add dog park component. At 1A is an agency motion providing direction to staff.
Mr. Chapcha.
Good afternoon again. Again, this is a 3-acre project, the Griffith Manor Park renovation project. As you know, we held a groundbreaking in September of this year. At the groundbreaking, several of the council members expressed an interest in possibly looking at creating a dog park component inside the park, in the park design. This is a GRA-funded park. We're here before you to see if there is interest for us to proceed to look at a potential dog park in this park. The site is only about 3 acres, so there are some limitations in the site, and we've preliminarily looked at some potential areas that could accommodate a dog park. We think there may be the opportunity to provide one. It's about 12,000 square feet. It's still rather small for a dog park if you want to mix both small and large dogs. There are some options in terms of using it for dog park for one day. Small dogs one day, large dogs other days. But again, it will cost us approximately $100,000 to $120,000 based on what the designer is telling us in terms of drainage, providing drinking fountains for the dogs, decomposed granite of the site, fencing, that sort of thing. So there's some options. It will be a small dog park if we do create a dog park there. But again, just seeking your direction in terms of whether or not we go forward with this. Would you like us to continue to explore it or not? And we do have the designer here who can answer questions if you have any questions about the dog park.
Mr. Quintero.
I'm ready to make a comment.
Well, let's hear from the public then, and we'll move to the council and agency. Vilma Vera.
Good afternoon, all council members, Mr. Mayor Najarian. My name is Vilma Vera, and I'm here representing myself and all the neighbors that live around the Griffith Manor Park. I'm here because we heard about the city that they planning to add this new dog park component. And we are against that idea because of safety issues. In the past, several children were, I don't know if you were aware of that, several children were attacked by dogs. So now the neighbors are asking, is the city willing to pay for those medical bills? I don't think so. So, and there is a lady who's willing to come and bring her child, a small child, was beaten and attacked by the dog. And she has all her face is deformed. She has a big scarf around the mouth. So she's willing to come and bring that child here. And we don't think it's fair because that area is very small. They go, why is it that we were waiting long enough, now they're coming with this new idea? Is that because city is more concerned about the animals? Trust me, we all love animals. Myself, I have a small dog, but I'm not going to choose a dog over a child. And that's why all the neighbors got very upset. They're not here, but I brought a lot of signatures. Actually, this is a quarter back and forth of the 2 sheets, and this is just a quarter of the neighbors that are against this idea. So I hope the city is going to take that in consideration about safety, like I mentioned before, safety issues. And we have one already by, I don't know if you're familiar with the Sonora and Riverside area. There's a dog park there. It's near to all that neighborhood, so we don't need another one. Besides, the neighbors, they are saying that instead of the city expending this much of money, ways that we don't add, in the new recreation center, some activities for children, so they can have, something to play or some. I have no idea what is it that I'm asking for, but they have a lot of small children. So I hope the city is going to take that in consideration, that you won't choose animals over children. Myself, I don't have small children, but I would choose a child over a dog. And like I said before, I do have a dog.
And
I guess
please don't sit down because we
Yes.
have someone requesting
Sure.
some discussion. But if, at the end, could you please hand the petition to our city
Sure.
clerk and he'll make it part of the record?
First, thank you for coming. I have a question. I'm just trying to understand the safety concern. The dog attacks that you're worried about, are these attacks that you're worried will happen inside of the dog park?
Oh yes, of course. If the dogs are gonna, even though sometimes my dog is with me, sometimes if I see a ball or something, he will run after the ball. But not all the owners are concerned about the dog. Just sometimes they just leave the dog unattended, and the dog, I saw myself running after a child
But
and
you-
takes the toy away from that child.
But you understand that the dogs won't be in the park loose. They're in a special caged area just for dogs.
But still, our main concern is again is about safety, and again, I agree with them that this is a small place, and taking that small place and adding a dog park. Come on, we have. I've seen myself. We have bigger parks, and we can add those. That area for this dog park in bigger areas. Like there is one Pelancone Park. There is the Fremont Park, Brand Park. So we have a few bigger parks, not especially this one. And I think it's fair for because these people they're being waiting long enough.
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Weaver, question of the...
No, just a comment.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Just so the world knows, it was my idea to do it.
Sorry about that. But we don't.
That's okay. I've did Weaver's Doghouse for 4 years, got 1,000 more animals adopted out, cats and dogs. I have a dog. I have 2 young grandchildren. And as far as I know, Glendale does not have a dog park anywhere. We've talked about it for years. Never had one. We continue to fight neighborhoods that don't want it in their area, put it somewhere else. But to my knowledge, dogs are supposed to be on leashes. They're not supposed to be running loose. That's what I understand. If children are being attacked in parks, I haven't heard it. If it is, it's being kept quiet. The rule is you have a dog on a leash when you're out walking. The dog parks are fenced off, and I don't know where exactly they might put it yet. Originally, when I looked, I thought way in the back in the corner, next to the fence by parking lot area. But then maybe the talk is put it at the very front of the park, where you don't have to take the dogs through the park to get to it. But again, the question is whether we want to explore it further. It wasn't committing us to anything at this time. It was a concept. I, for one, would like to see a little more. It doesn't mean I'm going to vote for it. If I think it's too much money, it's wrong, I'll never vote for it. But hope someday the city can find a location for a dog park that will be acceptable to the general public. There are a number of people that desire to have one. Thank you.
Raymond?
Well, I support your interest, Mr. Weaver. I would like to see this pursued further, at least from the standpoint of getting the information, see whether it's feasible, talking to the residents, the neighbors there, and we might take a look at some of our other parks as well.
Yeah.
To find the right fit, if this indeed isn't the right fit. I don't know. And so I also want to thank the speaker for coming forward. As to whether or not dogs were on leash, off leash, they're not supposed to be off leash. I do know things can happen just that are outside the dog park as well, just people bringing their dogs to the park, and sometimes they're not on a leash. But in any case, the concern is a legitimate concern, I think. It doesn't mean that that will happen in your neighborhood, but heck, let's pursue it. In 2007, we talked about this when we were back in the days when we still had capital improvement budget. Does anybody remember those days?
No.
Anyway.
We looked at the San Rafael Hills, that area.
Yeah,
for a dog
we had
park.
looked in several places, and at that time the price tag that was associated with a dog park was about $500,000 at that time. So that's why we didn't move forward at that time. I had asked about New York Park, which is completely enclosed as is. Other parks were suggested there. You mentioned Mr. Chapchin, and Mr. Weaver, you suggested some different areas at the time as well. So I have no problem. We should talk about it, look at this area, talk to the neighbors, see what the design is, see what the costs associated with it and the maintenance are, and look at some alternative areas as well.
Mr. Quintero.
Okay, I'm all for a dog park, but not in this location, and I don't want to do anything that's going to delay the project start. And that's what concerns me. I mean, if the votes are to continue to take a look at it, let's not do anything that's going to delay the opening. I mean, this neighborhood, which I might add is one of the lowest income neighborhoods in the city, has been dealing with a park that in effect was a gang location, all sorts of gang activities, and I'm probably not wrong in that whatever biting that took place may have been a dog that maybe was inappropriate for that neighborhood, but at any rate, the residents have not been notified, or I guess they heard about it. The speaker mentions that there's a dog park. I assume it might be an L.A. park, whether it's official or not, at Sonora and Riverside. But there's lots of other locations where we can take a look. Brand Park isn't that far from this location. I wouldn't be for a dog park in Pelincani either. That's just too small. These are very high-density neighborhoods, and they need to have places for kids and teenagers. We're going to have a nice little basketball court there, and I'm all for, continuing the project that we've put together and have an open lawn area where kids can run around and so forth. But absolutely, I'm not going to vote for a dog park in this location.
Do you still have a comment, Mr.?
Well, it follows on the comment about the timing. This park's currently under construction.
Right.
Drove by recently. It was in a cleared state.
Yep.
About how much time do we have before we have to make a decision?
Well, they're actually working now. It would delay the project and cost us for delays. So, and if I just may, looking at the site, I don't know if we can get the visual up, that lawn area is very small, even though it looked big when we were at the groundbreaking. There's going to be a building on the site, and that back lawn area, that area where that's in grids would probably be the best area, or the basketball area, but because you have to keep it away from kids. No matter what, the dog may be friendly, but kids get attracted to the dogs, and if the dog's not used to children, something could happen, but the kids will gravitate to the dogs and the dog park. This area right here is about 12,000 square feet, but it does eat away at the lawn area, and what the neighbors wanted back then was picnic areas so they can do some barbecue and enjoy the grass area, and this would affect it. So looking at it, this is the playground, keeping the kids separate from the dog use, this is probably one of the areas that could accommodate, and then maybe if this area here, if they decide not to do a basketball court. But again, we are in the middle of construction, and
So we don't want to install and have to tear out later on, so we need to make a decision quickly, or look at other sites.
Okay, when do we have this groundbreaking?
September, I think it was the 9th, September 9th.
September, October, month and a half. When I spoke there, I spoke to the crowd about it, because I walked it, and it looks bigger than I guess it is. I didn't know how much room you need for a dog park. But when I spoke, everybody there, especially ones with a dog, liked the idea. Now, here we're getting it in November, I mentioned it in early September. Now we're under construction. That changes everything. You know, I thought it'd be back to us simply, do you like the concept? You want us to look at it? And I thought within a week or two after that, it would be here. Well, obviously, it looks like a dumb idea now for me to suggest it when it's already under construction, which would mean more costs and more delays. It doesn't make sense anymore. I mean, I'm sorry. I suggested at the time, the people there liked it. And I'm sorry the whole neighborhood didn't come out for the groundbreaking for what they really wanted. I mean, there was a group there, but the whole neighborhood wasn't out. All I can do is tell you that it's a dumb idea now. Too far along. But, you know, we've talked for years about a dog park. Let's look at where there is one that is secure. What kind of areas do you need? How many square footages do you need? I didn't know you had to have one for small dogs and one for large dogs. All that.
We
People
did all
ask
that.
for one.
I'm sorry. We did all that when we looked at the site up at the San Rafael Hills. There is also a remnant piece of parcel down the street that was Caltrans, I think, that could possibly serve as that. I know we may not be able to talk about it here, but that's an empty parcel.
I'll give you another location. The remnant on the flyover bridge between the freeway down ramp and the road. I don't know how big an area that is. It's a city block long. Just maybe it would accommodate. It's away from all housing. It's away from all commercial. It's a totally isolated area. Possibly that'd work. I don't know.
Actually, that's
Are you urging me to vote against this dog park at this location?
Well, I'm withdrawing my idea now. Now that they're under construction, finding out now, and now I hear $100,000, everything. I envision you put up a fence around decomposed granite area and let the animals go in. But I guess you don't. You need water fountains,
Drainage.
all this other stuff. You know, it's
pit
getting-
bull fighting, I think, is
Pit
what
bull
you're...
fighting, oh yeah. Sure. It's just amazing. Nowadays, everything is a cost money. It's nothing simple anymore.
And the designer's here. He can really give you the details on why that cost is the way it
I've
is.
heard enough.
Mr. Draymond?
Just not
Well-
good there.
Mr. Weaver, I don't think the effort was a bad effort, and the idea was certainly not a bad idea. There's certainly a large group of residents in this city that have been asking and asking and asking. So I don't think the idea is stupid at all. It may not be appropriate for this particular park, and that's why I'm saying that if there's still an interest, I think we should take a look at some of the other sites and see what we might be able to do, and even if it's not now, it's something we can look at for future. And
See, my two little grandchildren would love to go there along with our dog and enjoy a dog park if we ever have one.
it's what you call an audio-visual aid. We might even we might even have a conversation with the Glendale Humane Society, which owns two pieces of property on Ivy, I believe.
Across the street.
And right now, across the street, they have their dog socialization area that was put in with money donated by Dr. Phil. We might talk to them. That is a site. Those are sites that don't abut residential, and
There will be another site coming up in 2 years when they do the western new off-ramp there. With the reconfiguration, there's going to be a large parcel along Western that'll be isolated also, along Flower.
I think that's the one I was talking about. There is a parcel there.
in any case, Mr. Mayor, I would suggest that we don't simply abandon the idea, but I do think we should take a look at it and see what we have, what we can afford, what the interest level is, and maybe there's a partnership that can be had with to help offset some of the cost.
Ms. Friedman?
Well, I think Glendale needs a dog park. It needs it somewhere. I don't know where. This site has its pluses and its minuses, and I think it was a very good instinct for Mr. Weaver to bring this forward and get this dialogue going. And it may very well be that this isn't the right site, and it is not right around the corner, but a little bit closer to the dog park that's in L.A., the existing park that the speaker mentioned. So being a little further away, if we could do it, might be good, but certainly the parks that maybe don't abut residential, like this one doesn't abut residential, should be looked at, and parks where we have a lot of open space that's not being used right now is another area we should look at. Up in the mountain areas, I know the access is a little bit tricky, but places that we have a lot of surplus land. And I do believe that when we build the dog park, the dogs will come and their owners will come because there's a lot of desire and need for it, in the right space. So I think we can find that space, and whether or not we can build that park sooner rather than later, I don't know. We may not be able to, but at least setting the ball in motion and coming up with a plan and finding a place so that we can plan around it is something that we can certainly take the time to do while we're not, building a whole lot of other stuff right now. So I support. There's a different motion, which is to proceed with staff looking at future dog park locations, and hopefully getting the community, interested, in people who think that they know of a great spot, or dog lovers who, think that they've sussed out someplace. I'd love to hear from them.
But it's just got to be away from residential. Can't be near residential.
Mr. Quintero, then Mr. Starr.
I'm all for pursuing another option, and I also think that we have to look beyond just city resources. I think working with the different groups from the Humane Society, maybe even Pasadena can help us out, including some of the private companies, whether it's private, like the Montrose, what's the name?
How about Mickey Mouse?
What's the name of the Montrose? Been there forever. The Anderson, yeah, like Anderson. I mean, I think we ought to try putting a task force together to see what we can do. And look, this is a specialty park, so people with dogs that are interested in this issue, hopefully they're going to help. I mean, we did the gardens, the Glendale. All of our different volunteers pitched in, and maybe we can bring in some volunteers and especially dog owners and get something done. So I'm all for it.
Mr. Starbird, then.
Well, just a last note in terms of timing. You are probably 4 months away from beginning our budget process, if not less than that, for the upcoming fiscal year. At best, it's going to be tremendously challenging, both with respect to your CIP and your operating budget. I'd encourage you, because some of you, I'm not sure I forget how long ago we had the conversation about a dog park, and had identified some sites that would probably work very well. 2007. One of those piece of property up in the San Rafael Mountains that everybody seemed to think that could be a good site because it's away from everybody and it's very accessible. Frankly, you should have that conversation when you consider your overall capital improvement program, because you're going to have lots of needs and lots of unmet wants there. But that conversation should take place when you consider your entire CIP. But again, that'll begin in 3 or 4 months.
Well, Mr. Starbird, you just heard me say, forget this site. When I heard approximately $100,000 and it's under construction, I walked away from this location.
Mr. Draymond.
Well, I appreciate what the city manager's had to say, but I don't want his comments to cause what has been suggested on the dais to be misconstrued. I've now heard 1, 2, 3, 4 council members at least say that we should be looking at opportunities to fund this by partnering with other entities in the city. I understand that Mr. Disney has a couple of dogs of note.
Yep.
So maybe maybe there's a partnership. Maybe it's Nestle. Maybe it's some of the other companies in our city. And maybe it's organizational, as Mr. Quintero was pointing out. But it certainly isn't going to hurt to look into the options. And if the timing is 4 months from now, that's fine too.
Well, Mr. Manager, there is one other. I'm just going to say there's one other thing.
I'd like to say something. Hold on. That is, I think we do need a dog park in the city, but I think, as perhaps what we've learned from this exercise, it has to be in the right spot. We can't assume that there's universal public support for it, because, frankly, I was rather surprised but swayed by the comments of Ms. Vera. We have to be very sensitive to the neighboring uses of the land. We have a lot of open space in our mountains and adjacent to other park facilities where restrooms, et cetera, are available for those. I think that really is where we should be looking for. And, $100,000 for a dog park, I think that is, a luxury, and I I have seen other dog parks, and I can't imagine that they would cost that much. But I understand, that's something that the designers and the planners need to come up with. Well, you don't have to defend that. I mean, that's...
Well, just that, the Crescenta Valley has a dog park coming in, the county portion of it, and that's costing them $300,000. So that's costing them $300,000 to build the dog park in Crescenta Valley. So it is costly. I mean, you have to think about drainage and parking and all the other, fencing, and it does add up.
It's not just as simple as fencing off an area and letting your dogs run free. It just isn't. Not one municipality with the liability is operating it. So the estimate we did of the one up in the Rancho Mountains was about $300,000, and that was not an elaborate dog park. But we'll take it. I think we should bring back the numbers and see what kind of funding we can find for it.
Ms. Friedman, then Mr. Draymond.
I'll cede my moment to Mr. Draymond, and then I'll come back.
Then Mr. Weaver
I was
has.
just going to say the numbers were close to $500,000 and at that time. And again, I think everybody on this dais and everybody listening understands the situation with the budget and the priorities and all of that. So it's a little bit, it's getting to be a little bit silly, if you don't mind my saying so, Mr. Mayor, sitting up here listening to admonitions telling this council about, what the budget is and the ticket prices and all of that for such a park and what they could be. Yes, I think we're all well aware of that. That is why, for I think the fourth time, I would point out that the overwhelming discussion on the dais has been to look and see what we might be able to afford, look at options related to partnering with sponsorship to bring funds to the table, and see what areas would be appropriate. I didn't hear a soul up here say, we have to have a park, dog park, we have to have it now, we have to have it next week, we're going to spend $100,000, $50,000, or $10,000.
Is that a motion, Mr. Draymond?
Nope, it's a commentary, Mr. Mayor.
We could make one.
And so, it's, I don't understand what's exactly going on up here, but that's my commentary on it. I've made a request. I don't know if anybody wants to join me in that, but if not, then it'll just lay there. So that's all.
I think it may have more force and effect if we make it a motion.
Well, I've made it a request for it to be agendized. That's all I've done. So.
Can that be, is it related to the subject matter to turn it into a motion? Those 2 or 3 elements that Mr. Draymond discussed?
Sure.
Partnering, returning, studying.
I've come up with some language to look for dog park location opportunities, obtain community input, explore partnerships for funding and development, sponsorship.
Would you like to make
Maybe
that
direct.
Sure. I want to hear what my colleague, Ms. Friedman, has to say.
I was just going to say, we have a very successful new nonprofit, which is the Community Parks Foundation. And I'm wondering if the dog lovers out there and the people in the community that have been interested in a dog park, if some of them are so inclined to, maybe we could put together a little organization that could also do fundraising, just on the very grassroots level for this. It may take a little while, but it's probably a lot of people that would give $10 or $20 towards a dog park, and if the city can find the land and sort of commit the land, that might be the way that happens. I do think that there are dog parks around the country that have developed that way. And the only other comment I have is, first, I think this is a great conversation, and it's exciting to think that we may have a dog park someday. But I also want to point out that dog parks aren't just for the dogs, they're also for the owners' recreation. And for many people, they're the only times they use the parks. I've seen this. I used to live near the Hollywood Bowl, and up above there's a dog park by Lake Hollywood. And I had a lot of friends that they never would go to the park, they'd never walk around the reservoir, but they went to that dog park every single day, and it was their recreation and their social thing that they did. So, it's not, yes, it's a luxury, but it's also part of a healthy recreational environment for the residents of our community. It's not something that we're doing for animals. So I just wanted to put that out there, but I fully support your motion and happy to vote for it.
Second it.
I'll second it.
Mr. Weaver?
Yeah, I just want to say, I don't expect it to be in the budget next year. I went to the police K9 event up in Verdugo Park, and I guess that was more successful this time than ever before. Loads of dogs around. There's a lot of animal lovers. It's just a question of trying to partner up with different groups and maybe doing fundraisers. pot the money away somewhere, and when we have it, maybe we'll have the site identified too. City's investment hopefully will be minimal. It'll be mainly funded by the private sector. Don't know, but that's what I guess the charge is through the motion that you made, Mr.
We can certainly pull a committee
So-
together.
Okay, so that was we'll turn it into a council motion because it would possibly exceed the boundaries of the redevelopment area.
I think we have direction.
Citywide, exactly. So we have a motion by Mr. Draymond, seconded by Ms. Friedman. Roll call, please.
This is for the council motion. Council members Draymond,
Yes.
Friedman,
Yes.
Carroll,
Yes.
Weaver,
Aye.
Mayor Najarian.
Yes.
Move we adjourn for the city council?
Second.
Council's adjourned?
We adjourned for the agency.
Second.
You're adjourned.